Captain Lee Hanna walked across the bridge of the huge spaceship called Prometheus. She looked out the big window at the stars ahead. The ship was so large that it carried 2,000 people who wanted to start a new life on a faraway planet. They were going farther from Earth than any human had ever gone before. The bridge was quiet except for the soft humming of the ship's engines. Her crew sat at their stations, watching the glowing screens that showed them everything about space. Around them, they had been traveling for 3 months and now they were getting close to their destination. "Captain," said Park Jin-ho, the man who controlled where the ship went. "We can see the nebula now. It looks just like the pictures from the robot ships that went before us." Hana nodded and walked to the big screen at the front of the bridge. The nebula was beautiful, but scary. It looked like a giant cloud of purple and blue gas floating in space. Behind it was the solar system where they would build their new home. "How are our people doing?" she asked Lieutenant Kim Doyen, who talked to other parts of the ship. "Everyone is excited, Captain. The families are packing their things. The scientists are checking their equipment. The farmers are ready to plant the first seeds on the new world." Hana smiled. These people had left everything behind on Earth to follow her into the unknown. Some were running from war. Others wanted adventure. All of them trusted her to keep them safe. The Prometheus was not just any spaceship. It carried the best technology Earth had ever made. In the cargo holds were machines that could change the air and water on a planet to make it perfect for humans. The ship also had secret weapons that Earth's government did not want other aliens to know about. "Captain?" called Cho Minho from the weapons station. His voice sounded worried. "I'm seeing something strange on my screens." Hana walked over to look. The screen showed waves of energy coming from the nebula. They were not like anything in the reports from the robot ships. "What do you think it is?" she asked. "I don't know. Maybe the gas in the nebula makes electricity. Or maybe there's something inside that we can't see." Hana studied the readings. They were strange but not dangerous. The energy waves were weak and seemed to move in patterns, almost like they were made by intelligence rather than nature. "Should we go around the nebula?" asked Park Jin-ho. Hana thought for a moment. Going around would add 2 months to their journey. They only had enough food and air for 4 more months. The colonists were already getting restless after such a long trip. "No," she decided. "We go through as planned. But everyone stay alert." Kim Doyen pressed buttons on his station. "I'm opening a line to Earth Command." The big screen changed to show the face of Admiral Song Hyun-woo back on Earth. Even across the vast distance of space, she could see he looked tired. The war on Earth was getting worse. "Earth Command, this is Captain Lee Hanna of the Prometheus," she said in her strong, clear voice. "We are about to enter the Kepler Nebula. All systems are working perfectly. The crew and colonists are ready." "Good to hear, Captain," the Admiral replied, but his voice had a delay because of the long distance. "Your mission is very important. We need that colony established as soon as possible." Hana understood what he meant. Earth was running out of resources because of the war. The new colony would give humanity a second home and new sources of materials. "Admiral, we are detecting unusual energy patterns in the nebula. Nothing that seems dangerous, but different from what our robot ships reported." The Admiral's face showed concern. "What kind of energy?" "Unknown type. The patterns are regular, almost like signals. Our science officer thinks it might be natural electrical activity in the gas clouds. Proceed with caution, Captain, and maintain regular contact." "Understood, sir." Prometheus out. The screen went dark. Hana turned to her crew. "Mr. Park, take us into the nebula. Slow speed. Everyone watch your stations carefully." The ship's big engines made a deeper sound as they pushed the Prometheus forward into the purple clouds. The bridge lights dimmed automatically to help them see outside better. As they entered the nebula, the energy readings got stronger. The ship shook slightly, like a car driving on a bumpy road. "Captain," Park Jin-ho said, his voice tight with worry. "The navigation systems are having trouble. The energy is interfering with our equipment." "How bad is it?" "We can still fly, but our maps of the nebula might not be accurate." Suddenly, all the alarms on the bridge started ringing. Red lights flashed everywhere. Cho Minho jumped up from his station. Captain, multiple contacts. Ships are appearing all around us. On the screen, dark shapes moved through the purple gas like giant sea creatures. They were huge, bigger than the Prometheus, and they had been hiding in the nebula waiting. How? Many? Hana demanded. 10. No, 15. Still counting. The alien ships surrounded them like wolves around a sheep. Their hulls were black and covered with strange symbols that seemed to glow with their own light. Get me Earth Command, Hana shouted. Kim Doyen's hands flew over his controls. I'm trying, Captain, but the aliens are jamming our signals. One of the alien ships fired something at the Prometheus. Not weapons, but some kind of energy beam that made all their systems go crazy. They're taking control of our ship, Park Jinho called out as his controls stopped responding. The last thing Earth Command heard was Captain Lee Hana's voice, calm even in the face of the impossible. Unknown vessels have surrounded us. They appear to be, then only silence filled the vast emptiness of space. 50 years had passed since the Prometheus disappeared. Commander Yoon Suki floated through the empty corridors of her salvage ship, looking at the star maps on her tablet. She was hunting for old spaceships and stations that might have valuable metal or technology inside them. Her team of 6 people had been searching through dead solar systems for 3 months. It was boring work, but it paid well. Earth needed resources, and old alien ruins sometimes contained rare materials that could be sold for good money. Commander, called scanner technician Bei Minsu from the main deck. I found something interesting in the Zarian system. There's a big structure on the 4th planet. Suki pushed herself along the wall to reach the scanner station. Minsu pointed at his screen, which showed a planet covered in ice and rock. But on the surface was something that clearly did not belong there. That's not natural, she said, studying. The image. The structure was huge, made of smooth metal that reflected light in strange ways. It looked like a research station, but much bigger than anything humans had ever built. The planet has been dead for thousands of years, said Chief Science Officer Han Woo-jin, floating over to join them. But that building looks almost new. Whatever built it had very advanced technology. Suki made her decision quickly. Take us down. Let's see what's inside. Their small ship landed near the alien station. The planet had almost no air, so they had to wear special suits to breathe. The building had no doors that they could see, just smooth walls that stretched up toward the gray sky. How do we get in? Asked Minsu, running his hands along the metal surface. Woo-jin pulled out a small device and pointed it at the wall. I'm detecting some kind of sensor system. Maybe it responds to touch or heat. Suki pressed her gloved hand against the wall. Nothing happened for a moment. Then suddenly a section of the wall simply melted away, creating an opening big enough for them to walk through. Inside, the station was dark but not cold. Emergency lights came on automatically as they walked through the corridors. Everything was built for creatures much taller than humans. The ceilings were high, and the doorways were wide enough for 3 people to walk side by side. Look at this, Woo-jin said, stopping at what looked like a computer terminal. The screen was showing symbols that moved and changed like living things. I think this is their writing system. Suki studied the symbols. Some of them looked familiar, but she could not figure out why. Can you read any of it? Not yet, but my computer is recording everything. Maybe we can figure it out later. They walked deeper into the station, finding room after room filled with strange equipment. Some rooms had tanks of green liquid. Others had beds that were too big for humans. Everything looked like it had been abandoned in a hurry. Then they found the central chamber. It was enormous, with a ceiling so high they could not see the top. The walls were covered with screens showing pictures and videos, and what Suki saw on those screens made her blood feel like ice water. Those are human faces, she whispered. The screen showed hundreds of pictures of people from Earth. Men, women, children, old and young. But these were not normal photographs. They showed the inside of human bodies, the way bones and muscles were connected, how the brain worked. Commander, Minsu called from across the room. You need to see this. He was standing in front of the biggest screen in the room. On it was a perfect 3-dimensional image of a spaceship. Not just any spaceship, but one that Suki recognized from history books. "That's the Prometheus," she said softly. The image showed every detail of the famous lost ship: the engines, the crew quarters, the bridge where Captain Lee Hanna had made her final transmission. But this was not just a picture. It was a complete technical drawing, showing how every part of the ship worked. "How did they get this information?" asked Wu Jin. "The Prometheus was built using Earth's most secret technology." Suki walked around the room, looking at screen after screen. She saw maps of Earth's solar system with the locations of military bases marked. She saw detailed studies of human weapons and defenses. She saw plans for capturing and studying human beings. They were watching us, she realized. These aliens, whoever they were, had been studying Earth for years. They knew about our ships, our technology, our people. On another screen, she found something that made her feel sick. It was a timeline showing Earth's expansion into space with the Prometheus mission marked in red. Below it were alien symbols that Wu Jin's computer translated as primary target, acquisition authorized. "They didn't just find the Prometheus by accident," Suki said. "They hunted it. This whole thing was planned." Minsu discovered more files that showed the aliens had been ruling the galaxy for 1,000 years. They called themselves the Hegemony, and they saw humans as a threat to their power. The plan was simple: capture the Prometheus, study the humans and their technology, then use that knowledge to destroy Earth before humans could become too strong. But something went wrong, Wu Jin observed, pointing to the final files. "Look at these damage reports. Something happened to their plan." The last entries in the alien records showed panic and confusion, ships destroyed, bases abandoned, their carefully planned operation falling apart. "What could have gone wrong?" Minsu asked. Suki stared at the image of the Prometheus on the big screen. Somewhere out there, Captain Lee Hanna and her crew had faced impossible odds against an enemy that had been planning their capture for years, but somehow the humans had fought back. Commander Yoon Suki spent 3 days learning how to read the alien computer system. The symbols were difficult, but her computer was getting better at translating them. What she found in the files made her both angry and proud at the same time. The aliens had recorded everything that happened after they captured the Prometheus. They were so confident in their victory that they kept detailed records of their experiments on the human crew. Suki watched the holographic videos with her hands clenched into fists. "They separated the crew from their ship immediately," explained Han Wu Jin, reading the alien reports. Captain Lee Hanna and her people were locked in the cargo holds while the aliens studied their ship. The videos showed the 2,000 colonists being herded like animals into large rooms. The aliens, who were tall and thin with gray skin, moved among the humans with scanning devices. They were measuring everything about human bodies and behavior. "Look at this," said Bei Minsu, pointing to a screen. They were testing human reactions to fear, pain, and stress. They wanted to understand how humans fight. But the aliens made their first mistake right away. They thought humans were like other species they had conquered, weak creatures who would give up hope when faced with superior technology. They did not understand that humans become more dangerous when they are trapped. The records showed Chief Engineer Kang Ji-hee sitting quietly in the cargo hold with the other crew members. To the aliens watching through cameras, she looked defeated and scared. But Suki could see something else in the woman's eyes. She was studying everything around her, making plans. She was counting the guards, Suki realized. Look how her eyes move. She's memorizing their patrol patterns. For 2 weeks, Kang Ji-hye pretended to be a broken prisoner while she organized the other humans in secret. She used the ship's maintenance codes that only the crew knew to send messages through the air vents. She told the security officers where to find weak points in their prison. She taught the colonists how to make weapons from pieces of metal and plastic. The aliens never suspected anything. They were used to conquered species that stayed conquered. They had ruled the galaxy for so long that they forgot other creatures. Could be clever, too. Here's where it starts, Wu Jin said, showing Suki a new set of files. The alien records showed complete surprise when the humans broke out of their prison. Kang Ji-hee had timed everything perfectly. She waited until most of the alien guards were sleeping, then used her engineering knowledge to shut off the power in their section of the ship. In the darkness, 200 trained human crew members moved like ghosts through the corridors. They used makeshift weapons and their knowledge of the Prometheus to take back their ship room by room. The aliens were stronger and had better weapons, but they did not know the ship like the humans did. The aliens sent a distress call, Minsu noted, reading the emergency reports. But Captain Lee Hana had already taken control of the communications system. She sent false messages saying everything was fine. The battle for the Prometheus lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the humans had won. But instead of trying to escape, Captain Hana made a decision that shocked even her own crew. She turned the ship into a weapon, Suki said, reading the tactical reports with amazement. The Prometheus had been built for exploration and colonization, not for war. But Hana and her engineers spent weeks modifying their systems. They turned their mining equipment into weapons. They used their communication arrays to jam alien signals. They programmed their navigation computer to strike like a predator and disappear before the enemy could respond. The alien files showed growing panic as reports came in from across their territory. The Prometheus would appear without warning, near an alien base or ship. It would attack with devastating precision, steal supplies and information, then vanish into the vast darkness of space. They called it the Ghost Ship War, Wu Jin translated. For 2 years, one human vessel terrorized an entire alien fleet. The aliens sent dozens of ships to track down the Prometheus, but they could never catch it. Captain Hana had learned to use the alien technology they had stolen to stay one step ahead. She knew their communication codes, their patrol routes, their weaknesses. But what impressed Suki most was how the humans fought. They did not just attack military targets. They found alien prison planets and freed the species that had been enslaved. They discovered alien supply routes and shared the locations with other rebel groups. They turned their war for survival into a war for freedom. "Look at this battle report," Minsu said excitedly. The humans destroyed an entire alien battle group using nothing but their mining equipment and clever tactics. The aliens had expected the Prometheus to run and hide. Instead, it fought back harder than any enemy they had ever faced. Every attack made the humans stronger as they captured more alien technology and learned more about their enemies' weaknesses. The aliens were terrified, Wu Jin observed. These reports show they started having nightmares about human ships appearing everywhere. But Suki knew from the files that this incredible resistance could not last forever. The aliens were mobilizing their entire fleet to hunt down one human ship. The Prometheus was fast and clever, but it was still outnumbered by thousands. The final entries in the alien records showed preparation for the largest military operation in their history. They were going to end the Ghost Ship War once and for all. Captain Lee Hana and her crew had fought impossible odds for 2 years. Now they faced their greatest test. Commander Yoon Suki found the most frightening files deep in the alien computer system. These records showed how desperate the hegemony had become after 2 years of losing battles to one human ship. Their pride was broken, and their other enslaved species were starting to rebel because they saw that the mighty aliens could be defeated. They called in Admiral No Taijin, Han Woo-jin said, reading the military reports. He was their most feared commander, the alien who had conquered 50 star systems without ever losing a single battle. The files showed pictures of the alien admiral. He was taller than the other aliens, with scars across his gray face from countless wars. His reputation was so terrible that entire planets would surrender just hearing his name. He brought 50 of their best warships, Bei Minsu observed, studying the fleet records. Each one was bigger and more powerful than the Prometheus. They were planning to end this war with overwhelming force. But Admiral No Taijin was also very smart. He had studied every battle the Prometheus had fought. He knew that Captain Lee Hana was clever and would not fall for simple traps. So he planned something different. The alien records showed detailed maps of a region called the Maelstrom. It was a dangerous area of space where 3 dead stars created powerful gravity fields that pulled ships in different directions. Space storms filled with deadly radiation moved through the area like hurricanes. Most ships avoided the Maelstrom because it was too dangerous to navigate. He knew Captain Hana would go there, Suki realized, reading the tactical analysis. When 50 enemy ships are chasing you, you look for the most dangerous place to hide. The admiral was right. The Prometheus had been running and fighting for 2 years. The ship was damaged from countless battles. Many of the crew were wounded. They were running out of supplies and spare parts. When the massive alien fleet began hunting them, Captain Hana had only one choice. The tracking records showed the Prometheus limping toward the maelstrom with the alien fleet close behind. The human ship was slower now, its engines damaged from pushing beyond safe limits for so long. "Look at these sensor readings," Wu Jin said, pointing to the energy measurements. The Prometheus was barely holding together. Their main engine was failing and they had hull breaches in 12 sections. Inside the maelstrom, the alien fleet spread out to surround the humans. Admiral No Taejun had brought enough ships to cover every possible escape route. The space storms would hide his fleet until they were ready to attack, and the gravity fields would prevent the Prometheus from using their quantum drive to escape. The battle records showed the final confrontation in terrible detail. The Prometheus was trapped in the center of the maelstrom, with enemy ships closing in from all directions. Captain Lee Hana tried every trick she had learned, but there was nowhere left to run. "She fought to the very end," Minsu said admiringly, watching the tactical displays. Even surrounded and outnumbered 50-1, she kept fighting. The Prometheus used the space storms as cover, striking at enemy ships and then disappearing into the radiation clouds. But the aliens had learned from their previous defeats. They did not try to chase the human ship through the storms. Instead, they waited patiently, knowing that the Prometheus would eventually run out of places to hide. Then Suki found the most important file of all. It was a personal recording from Chief Engineer Kang Jihye, made in the final hours of the battle. Her face was dirty and tired, but her eyes still burned with determination. "Captain," she said in the recording, "I've been studying the alien technology we captured. I think I know a way to stop them, but it will destroy us too." The plan was incredible and terrifying. Kang Jihye had discovered that the alien ships all used the same type of quantum engine that connected them through space-time. If she could overload the Prometheus's quantum drive in exactly the right way, it would create a cascade effect that would destroy everything within 100 light years. She wanted to collapse 3 star systems, Wu Jin said in amazement. The gravitational shockwave would be like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Captain Hana listened to her engineer's plan and understood what it meant. They could win the war, but none of them would survive to see the victory. The 2,000 colonists who had trusted her to lead them to a new home would die with their ship. But they also knew that if the aliens won, humanity would be destroyed. Earth would be invaded, and billions of innocent people would become slaves, or worse. She asked for volunteers, Suki read from the captain's final log entry. Every single person on the ship raised their hand. The alien records showed the final moments of the battle. The Prometheus stopped running and turned to face the enemy fleet. Admiral No Taejun thought the humans were finally surrendering. Instead, the human ship began charging directly at the largest concentration of alien vessels. The Prometheus's quantum drive started building energy far beyond its safety limits. Warning alarms filled the alien ships as their sensors detected the dangerous power levels. Admiral No Taejun realized what was happening, but it was too late. The cascade had already begun. The explosion that followed changed the galaxy forever. Commander Yoon Suki sat in the ruins of the alien research station, trying to understand what she had discovered. The final files in the computer system told a story so incredible that she had to read them 3 times to believe they were real. The explosion created by the Prometheus had been more powerful than anyone could have imagined. When Chief Engineer Kang Jihye overloaded their quantum drive, it did not just destroy Admiral No Taejun's fleet. The gravitational shockwave traveled through space like a giant wave, hitting hegemony bases and ships across dozens of star systems. The aliens called it the Great Collapse. Han Woo-jin explained, reading the emergency reports that filled the computer files. 3 entire star systems were destroyed instantly, but that was just the beginning. The shockwave had revealed something the hegemony had kept secret for 1,000 years. All across the galaxy, Their hidden bases and secret prisons were suddenly visible to the species they had enslaved. The aliens had used special technology to hide these places, but the explosion from the Prometheus destroyed that technology, too. "Look at this," said Bei Minsu, showing Suki a map of the galaxy. Within 1 year after the explosion, rebellion started on over 500 worlds. The enslaved species finally knew where their oppressors were hiding. The hegemony empire, which had seemed invincible for so long, began falling apart like a house made of cards. Without their secret bases, they could not coordinate their military forces. Without their hidden prisons, they could not control the rebellious populations on conquered worlds. But the most important thing was that other species had seen what humans could do. One small ship with 2,000 people had fought an entire empire and won. If humans could resist the hegemony, then anyone could. The revolution spread faster than anyone expected. Wu Jin continued reading. The Zephyrians freed themselves within 6 months. The Crystalline Collective broke their slave contracts and started their own government. Even the peaceful gardener species began fighting back. The files showed that many alien species had tried to resist the hegemony before, but they had always failed because they fought alone. The sacrifice of the Prometheus changed everything. It showed that victory was possible and gave other species the courage to work together. Within 10 years, the 1,000-year hegemony empire was completely destroyed. In its place rose something new, the Galactic Liberation Alliance. This was not an empire that conquered other species, but a group of free worlds that helped each other and protected the weak from bullies. Suki felt tears in her eyes as she read about the memorial they had built for the Prometheus. It was not just a statue or a monument, but an entire star system that had been turned into a place of learning. Species from all over the galaxy came there to study the history of the Great Liberation and to remember the humans who had died to make it possible. "They never forgot," she whispered. The computer files contained thousands of messages from different alien species, all thanking the crew of the Prometheus for their sacrifice. Some were from governments, some from military leaders, and some from ordinary families who had been freed from slavery. But the most amazing discovery was still to come. As Suki prepared to leave the research station, Minsu detected an incoming transmission from deep space. The signal was strong and clear, aimed directly at their location. "Commander, you need to hear this," he said excitedly. The message began, with a sound Suki had never expected to hear. It was music, not alien music, but a simple human song that children on Earth had been singing for hundreds of years. Then a voice spoke in perfect human language. "People of Earth, we are the Galactic Liberation Alliance. We have been waiting 50 years to send this message to you." Suki grabbed the communication device with shaking hands. This was first contact, the moment humanity had been dreaming about since they first looked up at the stars. "We know about the ship that was never found," the voice continued. "We know about Captain Li Hana and Chief Engineer Kang Jihye. We know about the 2,000 brave souls who crossed your border and changed our galaxy forever." The message explained that the Alliance had been trying to contact Earth for decades, but the war that was tearing apart humanity's home planet had made communication impossible. Now that Earth was finally at peace, they could safely make contact. "Your people did not just fight for their own survival," the alien voice said warmly. "They fought for freedom itself. Because of their sacrifice, billions of beings across the galaxy now live free from tyranny and oppression." The transmission included an invitation for Earth to join the Galactic Liberation Alliance as an equal partner, not as conquerors or colonizers, but as the species whose courage had inspired the greatest liberation in galactic history. As Suki's ship left the Zerion system and headed back to Earth, she thought about Captain Li Hana and her crew. They had set out to establish a small colony on a distant world. Instead, they had given birth to a new age of freedom that stretched across the entire galaxy. The Prometheus had never been found, because it had become something much greater than a ship. It had become a symbol of hope that would inspire countless generations to stand up against injustice and fight for what was right. The last ship that crossed Earth's border was never found, but its legacy would live forever among the stars.